across northern Scotland. Bit of a northerly breeze across the Northern Isles. That's the only place that's even remotely cool. Elsewhere, a very mild evening, leading into a very mild night. The rain will gradually ebb away from Scotland, so things turning a bit drier. The breeze still quite noticeable, quite brisk, so that should stop too much in the way of mist and fog forming. But look at the temperatures overnight. Many places holding up in the teens and pretty much across the country. Double digits to start Thursday, so another mild day, another predominantly cloudy day. Not as wet across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but there will still be some outbreaks of rain, particularly coming into western Scotland. Bar the odd shower again, much of England and Wales looking dry, but fairly cloudy. Some brightness coming through. Overall, a sunnier day likely across Wales and southwest England. And again, with the winds coming up from the south, it will be another very mild day.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. In Kent, a collision on the M2 eastbound entry slip at Junction 3 has closed all lanes. In South Tyneside, the A194M northbound is congested between Junction 2 Washington and Junction 3, causing 10-minute delays. In Cumbria, congestion affects the A66 westbound between junctions with the A595 north and south, resulting in 15-minute delays. In Derby, southbound traffic on the A38 between the A610 and the A52 faces 20-minute delays. And on the trains, passengers using the Elizabeth line and Greater Anglia face disruption between Stratford and Shenfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Secretary is urging medical professionals to prescribe having a job as a form of treatment for anxiety and depression. West Streeting wants employment to be seen as being just as vital to health as diet and exercise. His comments come as the latest figures reveal there are more than 2.8 million people of working age who are economically inactive in the UK because of long-term sickness. Joining me now is a psychotherapist and broadcaster, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, good to see you. What do you make of this story? Prescribing going to work, basically?
In effect, that's what it's doing. And on the whole, I'm fully behind it because work is a very powerful mood lifter. It works on three levels, really. It gives you a sense of structure. It gives you somewhere that you have to go and to be there at certain times, maybe fulfill certain deadlines. It also gives you a sense of purpose. And we know from a lot of studies that when you have mental illness, and particularly when you have depression or anxiety, that sense of helplessness, worthlessness can be very debilitating, and it can send you on a downward spiral, make it very hard for you to get well. And yet if you have work, if you have a sense of purpose, if you have a mission, if you like, if you have goals, if you get improvements in your work and you get promoted, all of those things can be very beneficial. And the third thing, of course, is that in the workplace, we form human connections. We are very relational creatures, human beings. We come into this world physically joined to another person, and that is our template. We are longing for connection.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Wednesday the 5th of November, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Hundreds of previously closed grooming gang investigations are set to be reviewed alongside the National Public Inquiry. But why were they dropped in the first place?
Well, that review taking place now as the National Crime Agency says they're developing a new understanding of abuse cases as being part of serious and organised crime.
Mine will be a budget for growth, with fairness at its heart, and a budget that supports businesses to create jobs and to innovate.
Well, growing fears that everyone's going to have to pay more tax as the Chancellor warns each of us must do our bit as that budget on November the 26th gets ever closer.
And an education overhaul, the biggest shake-up of the school curriculum in a generation, with fewer exams, more diversity, more awareness of fake news, financial literacy and critical thinking, all on the new agenda.
And construction is to begin on Britain's largest Christian monument after the £40 million fundraising target was met. It'll stand 51 metres tall, that's more than 150 feet, double the height of the Angel of the North.
But as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Well, breaking news from New York as the city elects a socialist mayor. Yes, that's 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani. He'll become New York's first Muslim leader, and he promises that he will be Trump's worst nightmare. Well, speaking of the US president,
this will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Today marks 1 year since Trump's stunning election victory, and he's had quite a busy second term. Is he making America great again?
And in Kentucky, 7 people have died and 11 are injured as a plane loaded with jet fuel explodes into a fireball on takeoff.
Bias at the BBC, pressure growing on the Director General Tim Davie, which he'll ignore, of course, to step down after the broadcaster platform Hamas propaganda minimised Israeli suffering and doctored a Donald Trump speech. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch is calling for tough action.
And I do think heads should roll. Whoever it was who did that should be sacked. That's what Tim Davie should be doing.
Andrew, some of the comparisons between what the BBC's English service and the Arabic service have said are quite extraordinary, how they've described the conflict in Israel differently and given so much weight to what Hamas has said. But would Tim Davie resigning really make any difference? If there's lots of people at the BBC who are biased, would just ditching the leader change anything?
And the other problem, I think, is the BBC Arabic service receives money. This is where they've been giving a platform to violent, virulent anti-Semites. It receives your money, taxpayers' money, from the Foreign Office, which is gross.
And you were saying yesterday that the licence fee is up for review. Is it next year?
£181 it's going up to next year. Is it any wonder more and more people are refusing to pay it? I'm not encouraging you to do it, but a lot of people are refusing to pay it.
You don't have to pay it if you don't watch TV, do you? But of course, most people do.
Yeah, well...
Get someone knocking at your door. Well, we will have Associate Editor of The Telegraph come on to discuss that story, but we want to know what you think. So send your views, post your comments to...
GBNews.com/your say, but first your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom at just after 9:30. The Chancellor Rachel Reeves says everyone will have to contribute, refusing to rule out tax rises in her budget on the 26th of November.
I will do what is necessary to protect families from high inflation and interest rates, to protect our public services from a return to austerity, and to ensure that the economy that we hand down to future generations is secure.
Think tanks say there could be a £50 billion gap to fill. One suggests a 2p hike to income tax is on the way. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith blames Labour for crippling the economy.
There's no economy on the planet that's taxed its way to success. We all understand that we need a safety net in society, but what you really need is economic growth. You need the government off people's backs.
Also this morning, MPs are holding crisis talks over alleged BBC bias on Trump and the Gaza war. The committee chair, Dame Caroline Dinniage, says the revelations are extremely worrying and have serious questions for the broadcaster. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says anyone who's put out misinformation should be sacked, as pressure's now mounting on the Director General, Tim Davie. In New York, Zohran Mamdani has self-described as Trump's worst nightmare, has become the city's first Muslim and South Asian mayor after a decisive win at the age of just 34. More than 2 million New Yorkers turned out to vote, almost double the last election.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
Just about squeezed in 3 stories in 60 seconds. Those are your headlines. I'll be back in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning, welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
And we're going to take you back to that extraordinary drama on the train, the LNER train going from Doncaster to King's Cross on Saturday, because it's now emerged just how remarkable was Samir Zatouni, who is the railway employee who confronted the attacker on board with those mass stabbings. We now know that he attacked him with a frying pan. Yeah. He was working in, like, the canteen or kitchen part of the train. And we know from what the Transport Secretary said, Heidi Alexander, she's seen the CCTV, she said his actions undoubtedly save lives.
Yes, because he prevented the attacker from going further down the train, attacking members of the public. Of course, they had that horrendous 14-minute waiting for the train to start and the police to board. Of course, they didn't know how long they'd be trapped in that situation, but what an absolute hero. And we understand that he is stable but still critically unwell in hospital.
No, I think he's a perfect candidate for the George Medal, which is the highest medal for civilian gallantry. If you think back to the lovely girl who defended her friend and lost her life in Nottingham against the horrible Kalakani, she posthumously has got the George Medal, and I think he should get it.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how some people just go into that fight mode, protection mode, and even he wasn't necessarily a particularly big guy. There was another chap who was a Nottingham Forest supporter, quite an older man, but decided to try to fight back.
And he was stabbed 7 times or something. Yeah, and it's extraordinary, isn't it? And there's lots of pictures in the papers today of David Beckham getting his knighthood. I'm very pleased with David Beckham getting his knighthood, but I think we should be saying on GB News, this guy is a real hero and he deserves a medal.
He definitely does. Well, let's move on now to our leading story today. Hundreds of previously closed grooming gang investigations are being reviewed by the National Crime Agency. Under Operation Beacon Port, the review will focus on cases that the CPS took no further action on between January 2010 and March 2025.
So the man who knows all about this more than anybody else is our own very own GB News national reporter, Charlie Peters. Now, Charlie, just explain how many of these cases were dropped, and it's being put down, isn't it, to
human error.
Human error.
Human error in some of these cases.
How many were there?
So they're reviewing 1,270.
Human error in 1,300 cases.
Well,
I don't believe it.
Of which 236 are being reviewed as a priority because they contain allegations of rape. Now, we know that the Met are looking at 9,000 possible group-based and grooming offences as well. What we're hearing from the National Crime Agency today is a very interesting update in how they're looking at this form of abuse. Because, of course, at GB News, we've been talking for a long time about the overlap of these criminal networks and how there is, when CSE and group-based offending takes place, there's often an overlap with wider criminality, in particular drugs and guns. What we're hearing from the NCA today is that they're starting to look at this and telling other forces to look at this as serious and organised criminality. I think there has been some tendency in our understanding of this form of abuse across the country to look at it as localised offending, just abusers in one town. But actually, what we're developing more of an understanding of with this form of offending is interlinked, a national network. A lot of the trafficking taking place between family members even, and across criminal gangs. So those 236 cases being reviewed as a priority by Operation Beacon Port, a massive review being undertaken by the National Crime Agency now. And they've issued something very interesting, Miriam and Andrew, which is called something under the Crime and Courts Act of 2013. It's the Act of Parliament that established the NCA, but it also gives the Director General there this unique power to issue direction to all the other police forces in England and Wales and tell them to take on a different sort of set of understandings and direction when it comes to this form of offending. That's what they've issued with this new approach as well.
So when it's reported this was human error, it doesn't mean that 1,200 cases were filed in the wrong filing cabinet. It means that something substantial was missed in terms of red flags or clues that could have linked it with other crimes.
Well, human error is what we were told, journalists were told at a press briefing yesterday morning. But when we're looking at some of the errors involved here, it's a failure to follow up lines of inquiry in some cases, or victims making reports that then weren't recorded as crimes. But, of course, what's not being said, and what we have found as a pattern more broadly across the country, is police forces shying away from this issue for broader reasons. And even more controversially, and this will be particularly difficult for the NCA to dive into, some cases where there have been allegations that police officers themselves have been involved in these organised criminal gangs and are involved in the criminality. It's not just cover-up, it's being involved as well.
Which is really important. What I wonder, Charlie, you talked to these women, these victims, how they would react to some of this being described as human error.
Yeah, well,
because I suspect they're going to say it was deliberate. Turn a blind eye.
And
who cares what about these women? They're the criminals.
And you can understand there are so many women who are waiting for the police to take on their case. A lot of them have had no further action provisions in the past. The NCA is saying this is an intelligence-led and also a sort of survivor-informed, trauma-informed operation. So they're not asking people to contact them. They're reviewing all these cases, and when they feel as though they're ready to approach victims and survivors who've spoken to the police before, they will do so. But for now, they're starting with 236 cases. Just one more thing, Andrew. One thing I did hear from a victim last night is that when politicians have been making statements about grooming gangs in Parliament recently, they've been using the past tense. So Keir Starmer said in his updates during PMQs 2 weeks ago, grooming gangs were one of the most horrific forms of abuse. They are. These are ongoing offences. And when you're having 236 cases being re-looked at, what do we think those alleged offenders are doing now? Do you think they did it once and stopped, or are these organised criminal gangs still operating around the country?
And Charlie, we often think about the grooming gangs, think of Rochdale and
Rotherham and Oldham.
What do we know about where these cases are based?
Well, when we asked the NCA yesterday, can you give us any indication of which areas you're looking at? They wouldn't release information at this stage. They've got more to gather, they said. But it's likely they'll be providing more updates soon. However, for now, we do know that 23 police forces are involved.
23?
23.
That's half.
That is a serious split. So
it's half the police force in the country.
So this is an operational to do with intelligence. So in theory, this could actually have more impact in stopping grooming gangs now than a potential inquiry that's still to get off the ground.
Well, these are the two things that Baroness Casey recommended. Well, there were 12 recommendations, but these are the two sort of key ones that has captured the national attention the most, because she wanted this public inquiry, but also this police investigation. They were part of the same recommendation. Obviously, the public inquiry right now is in crisis. A lot of people waiting for information on when that might start. Some survivors have quit the panel working with the government. The two leading candidates pulled out as well. The government now warning it may take several months to start that process again. What we've got here is some action. So regardless of where these reviews go, that the National Crime Agency is working on it is a cause of optimism for many people, because the £89 million operation in Rotherham, Operation Stovewood, looking at allegations from the late 90s to 2014, that identified 1,510 victims and has led to dozens of convictions. So the National Crime Agency does have a very strong track record of reviewing these historical failings when local police forces either neglected to achieve convictions or haven't caught up as quickly as they should have. With the NCA taking a lead, there has been a lot of optimism from survivors I've been speaking to.
Well, that at least is some encouragement for them, Charlie, and you'll keep us up to date on that. Charlie, thank you for that.
Well, still ahead, we'll be giving you all the details you need to know about the newly elected first Muslim mayor in New York, Zohran Mamdani.
Who Donald Trump's called a communist.
Well, I think the Republicans are going to make hay out of his policies.
I think they will. But up next, scandal at the national broadcaster. Should we say another scandal at the national broadcaster? With pressure...
There's a BBC for each of us, funded by all of us. This is our BBC.
Pressure is mounting on the BBC Director General Tim Davie over the doctoring of a Donald Trump speech.
And the appalling activities in the BBC Arab Service.
It's quite a report.
Really is. But first, if you want some of that elusive holiday sun, stay tuned.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Heavy downpours likely over the northeast of Spain and southern France over the course of Thursday. Some showery rain also for the Greek islands, particularly Corfu. Much of Italy looking fine with some autumn sunshine in Rome. There's that heavy rain just clearing away from Barcelona, but bringing some downpours to the south of France. Showery rain also clearing away from the Balearics. Much of southern Spain dry and sunny. Small chance of a shower or two over the Canaries. They should be clearing away as we head into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Secretary is urging medical professionals to prescribe having a job as a form of treatment for anxiety and depression. West Streeting wants employment to be seen as being just as vital to health as diet and exercise. His comments come as the latest figures reveal there are more than 2.8 million people of working age who are economically inactive in the UK because of long-term sickness. Joining me now is a psychotherapist and broadcaster, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, good to see you. What do you make of this story? Prescribing going to work, basically?
In effect, that's what it's doing. And on the whole, I'm fully behind it, because work is a very powerful mood lifter. It works on 3 levels, really. It gives you a sense of structure. It gives you somewhere that you have to go and to be there at certain times, maybe fulfill certain deadlines. It also gives you a sense of purpose. And we know from a lot of studies that when you have mental illness, and particularly when you have depression or anxiety, that sense of helplessness, worthlessness can be very debilitating, and it can send you on a downward spiral, make it very hard for you to get well. And yet if you have work, if you have a sense of purpose, if you have a mission, if you like, if you have goals, if you get improvements in your work and you get promoted, all of those things can be very beneficial. And the third thing, of course, is that in the workplace, we form human connections. We are very relational creatures, human beings. We come into this world physically joined to another person, and that is our template. We are longing for connection.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's nearly 10 to 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, more and more criticism of the BBC over the way it deliberately twisted the words of Donald Trump, the President of the United States, shortly before the election, which all owed to do with the riots on Capitol Hill. And also we've discovered now how the BBC Arab Service, funded by you, the taxpayer, through the Foreign Office, has been running commentaries from pronounced, virulent anti-Semites again and again.
Well, shall we take a listen to how the BBC changed a speech by Donald Trump just a week before his election? Take a listen to this.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol And I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
It's not just this appalling. It is, and it's also the background music, which is so ominous, like a horror scene's about to happen.
I know, and they've also, in part of the footage, they show Trump supporters marching on Capitol Hill, but they were marching on Capitol Hill before he'd even made the speech. So it was a gross distortion, and those remarks were 55 minutes apart in that speech. Yeah. So it was a very careful, selective censorship, not censorship, distortion of what he had to say.
A very long speech.
Yeah, well, it was a great scoop for the Daily Telegraph. Let's talk to Gordon Rayner, who's the associate editor there and a very old colleague of mine. Gordon, morning.
Morning.
I suspect, as ever, Gordon, not a soul at the BBC will hang their head in shame and do the right thing and resign.
Well, I think what's interesting, Andrew, is that the way that the BBC has responded to this is to largely ignore it. I don't think that the BBC managers get the importance of this and how terrible this is. They didn't get it when it was raised internally. They kind of shrugged and said, well, you know, we edit videos. It's just, you know, it's what we do. And even since we published the story, I've spoken to people who have spoken to Tim Davie, the Director General, and he's still basically maintaining the same line. And I think what's interesting is if you compare that to the way they responded, as you will remember, Andrew, in 2007, when the BBC effectively faked a trailer for a documentary about the Queen, when people will remember, it made it look as though the Queen had stormed out in a huff from a photo shoot, when in fact the clip of her storming out was her walking in. That ended up with the controller of BBC One losing his job over that. And the difference now is that the managers just don't seem to care about this stuff. And moreover, I think that because it's Trump, there seems to be this attitude that, well, it's Trump, nobody likes him anyway. It's what he probably would have said. It's what he meant. So let's just make him say it. And then nobody's going to mind about that.
Terrible.
And Gordon, it does seem extraordinary that the BBC set themselves up as the nation's fact-checker and exposer of disinformation, and yet they seem extraordinarily blasé when they're putting out disinformation themselves. Do you think this is just a case of groupthink, where they all think the same thing and they just can't see any harm in what they're doing?
I think that's true of people at the top of the organisation. There are some very good people at the BBC. There are some very good journalists. I've had calls from one or two of them this week. They've been backing what we've been doing. Some of them are very uncomfortable with the, I think you played a clip of it there, of the BBC's promo that they're doing at the moment, where they're talking about, you know, how the BBC is the place where you get the truth, how they're fighting against disinformation, and they're very uncomfortable about that because, I mean, for a start, they've made themselves look rather foolish because of this. But I think the overall impression that you get from this 19-page letter that was sent to the BBC board by a former advisor to their editorial guidelines and standards committee is of an organisation that's kind of out of control now, that it's almost ungovernable because so many people within that organisation now appear to come to work with an agenda. And rather than protecting the impartiality and the fact-based journalism that the BBC is built on, and which their Royal Charter is built on. They just come to work wanting to promote a particular worldview, and nobody picks them up on it because
Indeed, Gordon, I'm so sorry. We are going to have to cut in and leave it there because we're out of time.
But a great story, and well done, the BBC. We have got a statement from the BBC, which we can read a little later because, as ever, it's very long.
Well, still ahead, there'll be fewer exams and more diversity in our schools after a major shake-up. Is Labour dumbing down our education or just moving with the times?
This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News, and you're listening in ever larger numbers and watching in ever larger numbers, for which we're very grateful. Thank you.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. More wet weather to come, particularly across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. England and Wales staying fairly cloudy and very mild, and quite a gusty wind blowing, quite noticeable if you're out this evening for a firework display. This morning it's pretty wet across Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy bursts of rain here, not completely dry for Wales and England, particularly in western areas, some showery rain, but that should be easing off generally. And then much of the Midlands and eastern England will stay dry, predominantly cloudy, but still quite bright, some hazy sunshine, lifting those temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17 degrees. But there is quite a noticeable gusty wind, quite mild even where the rain persists across Scotland and Northern Ireland well into this evening. As I say, if you are heading out to a firework display, that gusty wind might be quite noticeable, but you're not going to need to really layer up because it will be pretty mild. Apart from the odd shower, most of England and Wales dry, still quite wet though across Cumbria perhaps, and outbreaks of rain lingering into this evening across Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Quite a wet end to the day across northern Scotland. Bit of a northerly breeze across the Northern Isles. That's the only place that's even remotely cool. Elsewhere, a very mild evening leading into a very mild night. The rain will gradually ebb away from Scotland, so things turning a bit drier. The breeze still quite noticeable, quite brisk, so that should stop too much in the way of mist and fog forming. But look at the temperatures overnight. Many places holding up in the teens and pretty much across the country. Double digits to start Thursday. So another mild day, another predominantly cloudy day. Not as wet across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but there will still be some outbreaks of rain, particularly coming into western Scotland. Bar the odd shower, again, much of England and Wales looking dry, but fairly cloudy. Some brightness coming through. Overall, a sunnier day likely across Wales and southwest England, and again with the winds coming up from the south, it will be another very mild day.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The southbound M40 at Junction 15 in Warwickshire is closed due to a vehicle crossing the central reservation. An incident affects the M4 eastbound between junctions 38 Margam and 37 Pyle. The M2 eastbound at junction 4 in Medway is closed. The A19 northbound entry slip from the A181 in Durham is partially closed. One lane is closed on the M1 northbound exit slip at junction 20 in Leicestershire. And on the trains, expect disruption on the Elizabeth line between London Paddington and Abbey Wood. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Wednesday the 5th of November. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So find out why so-called human error could have led to huge amounts of, more than 1,200 that we're talking about, grooming gangs investigations being dropped.
Mine will be a budget for growth, with fairness at its heart, and a budget that supports businesses to create jobs and to innovate.
Yes, fears are growing that all of us will have to pay more tax, as the Chancellor warns that each of us must do our bit as the budget gets closer.
Yes, having explicitly said that they wouldn't raise taxes in their manifesto last year, it looks as though Rachel Reeves is planning to do just that. Would the first income tax rise in 50 years be political suicide for the Chancellor and the Prime Minister?
Education overhaul, and I don't think you're going to like it. The biggest shake-up of the curriculum in a generation. Fewer exams, more diversity, of course, more awareness of fake news, financial literacy and critical thinking are all on the new agenda.
And is there bias at the BBC? Well, pressure is growing on the Director General to step down after the broadcaster platformed harassed propaganda, minimised Israeli suffering and doctored a Donald Trump speech. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch wants tough action.
And I do think heads should roll. Whoever it was who did that should be sacked. That's what Tim Davie should be doing.
And construction will begin on Britain's largest Christian monument after the £40 million fundraising target was met. It's being built in the Midlands.
Yes, we're here at the groundbreaking ceremony for this structure. It's going to be bigger than this, though. It's going to be 51 metres tall, twice the size of the Angel of the North, and it's called the Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer. Find out more later.
But as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Breaking news from New York as the city elects a socialist mayor. 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani will become the New York's first Muslim leader. He promises he'll be Trump's worst nightmare.
And a stunning sea of red has taken over the Clevedon Pier in Southend today for the launch of Poppies on the Pier.
Yeah, this is the world's biggest pleasure pier, home now to the UK's largest poppy installation. I'll be speaking to the volunteers who have made this all possible.
Andrew, I'm very dubious about this national curriculum review and the recommendations. I mean, some of them seem moderately sensible, like every child having the chance to study triple science GCSE if they want to. But a lot of it seems dumbing down of fact-based subjects in order to have more time to study things like citizenship and relationships that are not fact-based at all.
And let's remember the academic brought in by Bridget Phillips and the Education Secretary to advise her on the curriculum. Just remember, she did her doctorate in women's studies and
gender inequality or something like that.
What sort of academic study is that? Why couldn't she do it in something worthwhile and meaningful?
Exactly, and the whole review is about social justice, and I mean, that's not what children go to school for.
Reading, writing, arithmetic, and I've got to say, one of the triumphs of the Tory administration the last 50 years, there weren't many in my view, Michael Gove did very well on the curriculum.
And it looks like a lot of that is going to be damp. They want to scrap some time spent on GCSEs. I think there's an argument for reforming GCSEs, but not in order to replace them with subjects that are just here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'd love to know what you think. Send your views and comments to
gbnews.com/you'll say, but first here's the news with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just coming up to 5 minutes past 10. The top story this hour. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says everyone will have to contribute as she refused to rule out tax rises on the 26th of November.
I will do what is necessary to protect families from high inflation and interest rates, to protect our public services from a return to austerity, and to ensure that the economy that we hand down to future generations is secure.
Think tanks say there's a £50 billion gap to fill. One suggests a 2p hike to income tax could be on the way. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith blames Labour, though, for crippling the economy.
There's no economy on the planet that's taxed its way to success. We all understand that we need a safety net in society, but what you really need is economic growth. You need the government off people's backs.
Well, MPs are holding crisis talks today over alleged BBC bias on Donald Trump and the Gaza war. The committee chair, Dame Caroline Dinniage, says that revelations are extremely worrying and have serious questions for the broadcaster. It also alleges a Panorama edit misled viewers by splicing a Trump speech. It shows the president urging supporters to fight like hell when he actually said to march peacefully and patriotically.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Well, it's been a night of victories for the Democrats in the US, with New York electing its youngest mayor in a decade. Zohran Mamdani, who calls himself Trump's worst nightmare, has become the first Muslim and South Asian mayor of the city. Democrats also swept key governors' races in Virginia and New Jersey, while California voted to redraw district maps to counter Republican gains in Texas. Donald Trump, marking now a year since his re-election, dismissed the results on Truth Social. But in his victory speech, Mamdani declared the nation's been betrayed by Donald Trump.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
Here, more than £4 million in potential bonuses for water company executives have been blocked after firms failed to meet performance targets, including over pollution. The water regulator Ofwat says 6 companies, Anglian, Southern, Thames, United Utilities, Wessex and Yorkshire Water, triggered its new rules on executive pay since they were introduced in June. It means directors at those firms received no annual bonuses or awards this year, as Ofwat tightens scrutiny following public anger over sewage spills and poor service standards. Israel has confirmed the returned remains of 19-year-old Israeli-American soldier Itay Chen. He was killed during the Hamas attacks on October the 7th. That transfer was part of the ceasefire deal brokered by the US, with 7 deceased hostages still believed to be in Gaza. And construction begins today on what will become the UK's largest Christian monument after a £40 million fundraising target was reached. The Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer, to be built near Cold Hill in Warwickshire, will stand 51 metres tall and feature 1 million bricks, each representing a story of prayer that was answered. The ceremony takes place later today, with the mystery donor behind the £40 million cost set to be revealed. Well, the monument is set to be open to the public in 2028, complete with a visitor centre and 10 acres of green space. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with you shortly. Now, though, it's over to Andrew and Miriam.
Hello, welcome back. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. I'm just about to give Andrew his favourite job, which is to read a right of reply from the BBC, because, of course, before the break, we were discussing how they are under pressure after doctoring a Donald Trump speech from 2021. And we are not biased and we are fair, so Andrew's going to read this out.
I will make the point, whatever this statement says, they doctored the speech. You just came up on the autocue blank, so you're trying to...
I thought you'd been cancelled, Andrew.
I've been cancelled recounting the BBC, but just if I read this, the BBC doctored the speech. However, this is what the BBC said. While we don't comment on leaked documentaries after the BBC receives feedback. It takes it seriously and considers it carefully. Thrilled about that. Michael Prescott is a former advisor to a board committee where differing views and opinions of our coverage are routinely discussed and debated. I would say what I think about that statement. Pathetic. Doesn't deal with the point raised at all about doctoring a speech by a man who was just about to become President of the United States. It's shocking.
It is shocking, and I'm surprised they're not taking it more seriously, because Michael Prescott, the former advisor who wrote a lot of this document, is clearly aghast that nobody was listening and taking it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want the BBC to succeed. I think it's a really important national institution, but people have to be able to trust them.
And in the same memo, which is 19 pages, which the BBC are doing nothing about, Michael Prescott, who used to be a Sunday Times political editor many, many years ago, points out that the BBC Arab Service has put out completely different footage and coverage of the Gaza war to mainstream BBC, with well-known, vicious anti-Semites being allowed to speak sometimes 50, 60 times. And you are paying for that because the Foreign Office gives the BBC Arab Service a direct budget.
And the rest is funded by our licence
fee. Disgraceful.
Well, I think MPs are meeting today, aren't they, the Culture Committee, to decide... Well, I don't know if they have any power to do anything about it. They can certainly investigate
Caroline Downey is writing... She's the chairman of the committee. She's writing to the BBC. But what do they care?
Indeed. Well, let's move on now to one of our other top stories of the week. Rachel Reeves has hinted she's ready to do what no Chancellor has done in 50 years and raise income tax. Although, of course, we should say that 50 years ago, income tax rates were considerably higher than they are now, and they've actually fallen a lot in the last 50 years.
So the last time it was raised was on the watch of a man called Harold Wilson. 50 years ago, he was the Prime Minister. In her Downing Street speech, remember that everybody was summoned to number 10, number 11 for this extraordinary speech to breakfast television audiences, the length and breadth of the land. She sent most people watching, I think, firmly back to sleep. She said in that speech that she said the national interest must come before politics. We all have to do our bit. There's the rub. We're all going to have to pay more tax.
Indeed. Well, political correspondent Olivia Utley joins us now. Well, it didn't send me to sleep, Olivia, because I was waiting for the punchline,
and it never came.
Which didn't seem to come.
That's what's so strange about this. It is incredibly unusual for a Chancellor to make a big economic speech just 3 weeks before the budget. And there was so much speculation in Westminster about what she was going to say. And when it came to it, she sort of didn't quite say anything.
No.
She was essentially paving the way, it sounds like, for doing an income tax rise, which, as we've discussed, would be really, really unusual. Hasn't been done since the 1970s, 1975, 50 years ago. It was also explicitly ruled out in Labour's manifesto just last year. And during the last budget, Rachel Reeves, when she raised taxes, said she wouldn't be coming back for more at the next budget. So it represents a blatant going back on her promises. The way it looks like she might try and make it a little bit more acceptable to the public is to raise national income tax by 2p, but drop national insurance by 2p at the same time. That would raise less money for the Treasury, but she could just about argue that it wouldn't be a rise on taxes for working people because it would hit pensioners harder. Pensioners pay income tax, but they don't pay national insurance. I mean, there are people in the Labour Party who I've spoken to already who are saying that this would be political suicide for the Chancellor. Keir Starmer is obviously having to back. The Chancellor or Prime Minister can't go against their Chancellor, but this will be hugely, hugely unpopular. She said before that the people with the broadest shoulders were going to pay the most. She's now saying that everyone's going to have to pay their way. But she did say yesterday one thing, which it sounded as though she was ruling out increasing employer national insurance anymore. She said that she understands the effect that taxes are having on businesses. So it sounds as though it's going to be the employee rather than the employer who pays the higher taxes. At the same time, she's probably going to introduce some sort of mansion tax that will go down very well with the Labour base, but of course runs the very real risk that millionaires are going to leave the country, bringing their taxes and their businesses with them. She probably won't raise VAT. It looks as though the bulk of this money that she's trying to raise is going to come from a hike in income tax. Whether that's set off with national insurance, we're not quite sure. It is going to be very, very unpopular.
And on mansion tax, Olivia, there'll be many people watching this programme who bought their house maybe in the 60s or 70s. They may not have a large income, and that house they bought for a few £1,000s could comfortably be £3 million.
Well, exactly. So all sorts of people who you wouldn't expect to be mansion owners will be owning mansions in exactly the same way, actually, as one thing which Rachel Reeves is almost certainly going to do is continue to freeze the threshold at which the higher rate of income tax is paid. Same thing, it's fiscal drag. It's people being pulled up into that higher rate of income tax. And very ordinary people, nurses, teachers, exactly, people who were never intended to pay the higher rate of income tax when it was first brought in. And that will raise lots and lots of money for the Treasury, but it sounds from what Rachel Reeves is saying as though it won't be quite enough. There is talk, perhaps, that what Rachel Reeves is doing is managing expectations. I think very hopeful talk, desperate hopeful talk in Westminster, that perhaps what she's doing is managing expectations, and when it comes to the budget, she won't actually raise income tax, and then whatever she does won't seem quite as bad.
The headline will be that.
I think she will, actually. But this is going to come up Prime Minister's questions today. It will be a big issue, but, of course, the Prime Minister's not here. Funny that, Keir's not here. Who'd have thought it? He's gone off to this pointless climate change summit in Rio. How many air miles?
Quite a lot.
How many people is he taking? Hundreds of people to this.
It's good for the airline industry.
Yeah. But so in Rio. But so this will be the first outing at Prime Minister's questions, and frankly, I can't wait for David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes.
He can sometimes be a bumbling performer, putting it mildly, at the dispatch box.
He has made a few faux pas in the past. Angela Rayner, the previous Deputy Prime Minister, was a very good performer at the dispatch box, and she would always do her research to find out who she would be facing at PMQs, who would be filling in for the Leader of the Opposition, and really go at them very directly. The Conservatives didn't say until just about half an hour ago who they were putting up. It's James Cartledge, the Shadow Defence Secretary. Doesn't have much of a name. Might be a bit of a waste of David Lammy's first appearance at the dispatch.
He is a good speaker and a steady pair of hands, but whether or not they'll be fire, indeed.
But Olivia, I was talking to Miriam. I don't understand why Kemi Badenoch, as Leader of the Opposition, doesn't say, I know the convention is the Leader of the Opposition doesn't do PMQs if the Prime Minister's not there. I'm doing things differently. I'm going to do it. We want to hear from her.
I think it would be quite a smart idea, particularly as Kemi Badenoch, because the Conservatives are polling so low, she isn't managing to get much sort of traction in the press. It's quite difficult for people to, people aren't really paying attention to the Conservatives. Perhaps the only way that she might get them to pay attention is to put herself up for PMQs against David Lammy. I think then we could expect a bit of fire. Maybe she'll take you up on your suggestion in the future.
There'll be clips on the box tonight on GB News of Cartledge taking on Lammy. People think, who?
Yeah.
That's why it should be. That's why it should be her. Well, we should also remind people about David Lammy under pressure when he was on Celebrity Mastermind. He was asked the question, which monarch followed Henry VIII? Do you know what his reply was, Olivia?
Oh, was it Henry IX?
No, Henry VII. Henry VII.
No, Henry IX would have had some logic to it.
Yeah. He was also asked which Mary got the Nobel Prize for science, whatever, and he said, Marie Antoinette. God love him. I'm not being bitchy.
Well, no, of course not. I mean, live TV is difficult, Andrew, as we know. The occasional slip-up does happen.
Henry VII. Come on, can't you even count, mate? If it had been Henry IX, that would have been better. Anyway, it was Edward VI, by the way, in case people wanted to know.
I'm sure he will do a great job. And Tom Harwood and Gloria De Piero will be watching it all, so don't go away. We'll be covering Prime Minister's questions live on GB News. Thank you, Olivia, for that update. Well, construction is going to begin today on the UK's largest Christian monument after the initial £40 million fundraising target was met.
The Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer, what an interesting title, isn't it? Is located between the M6 and M42 in Coles Hill near Birmingham, and it will stand 51 metres tall, and as you know, that irritates me, which is something like 160 feet tall in the form of a Mobius strip. What's a Mobius strip?
I think it looks a little bit like an infinity sign where the a piece of tape essentially.
I think it's a challenging
design.
We're
going to see it in a minute, so I don't need to describe it. And whether you go for metric or imperial measurements, it is going to be more than double the height of the Angel of the North. It'll contain 1 million bricks, each linked to a story of answered prayer, and the stories will be accessible through smartphones. Let's talk to our GB News Yorkshire and Humberside reporter Anna Riley, who's at Coles Hill, to find out more. Anna, good morning.
Good morning to you both. Well, we can show you a replica of exactly how the eternal wall of answered prayer will look. It is, I would describe it as an infinity loop. It's going to be twice the size of the Angel of the North, and all the way around it there's going to be 1 million bricks with 1 million answered prayers, so people can take their smartphones, scan a prayer and see how it was answered. I'm joined now by Richard Gamble. You're the founder of this project. Just tell us about it and what inspired you.
So the concept is we want to bring hope to people, and anyone coming will be able to point their phone at any one of the bricks and their phone will light up and tell them the story of answered prayer. And God spoke to me about this 21 years ago, so it's been a roller coaster journey. So it's just a real thrill today that we can get started, and we want to proclaim to the nation that Jesus is alive, he listens, and he answers our prayers.
And how important do you think this is now in this day and age?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we're doing is we're not just collecting the answered prayers from now, but from all of history. So we want to preserve the Christian heritage of the nation and get schools and colleges to come and visit and find out all the stories of what God's done through our history. And I think particularly now that's more important than ever.
And you didn't want it to look like a religious monument as such, like Christ the Redeemer?
Yeah, when we ran a global competition with the Royal Institute of British Architects, we didn't want it to have the Christian iconography. We wanted to be a stunning structural design that basically encourages people to come along, have a look, and when they come they'll be able to see all these tiny bricks on it and realise how big a million is. And I hope as a piece of art that's going to inspire millions of people to think about praying.
And millions of people, but millions of pounds as well. Just tell us how much this project has cost and where much of the funding has recently come from.
Yeah, it's cost a couple of quid, to be fair. So we've raised £40 million. We've had a large donation from Lord Edmiston's company that's helped us on our way and enabled us really to start building today. But 22,000 people have committed funds and backed this project. We've still got another 5 and a bit to raise, but I hope that when we open in 3 years' time, that we'll be able to say to the nation, look, over 50,000 people have got involved in this project. And this is a way of us being bold and declaring to the nation that actually there are loads of Christians in this country who want people to know what they believe in and what they stand for.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for joining us on GB News. And this ceremony is going to go on for the next hour, so we'll be listening into that and joining you later on in the programme.
Anna Riley, thank you so much for that report, and we will be returning to that really interesting story later on.
Really lovely. I think it's fantastic. We're a Christian country, apparently. Let's proclaim it.
It's going to be visible from a long way, 150 feet.
Fantastic.
60, sorry. Now, it's never too early to think about the festive season, and how would you like to have your Christmas on us this year?
That's right. £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams, £1,000 to spend on a luxurious Christmas lunch and a Christmas-themed GB News goodie bag, which may include Miriam capes, which will go under the tree.
Well, we'll see about that. Well, all the best news. You'll get it in time for the big day. Here are the details you need.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up next, keeps conversation polite and light, respects personal space, avoids sudden movements. No, we're not reading broadcaster Mike Parry's dating profile, but listing some of the signs to spot a true gentleman.
We're going through that more with, said Mr Mike Parry, and the former Labour MP Stephen Pound. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The University of Sheffield has raised a few eyebrows after slapping death and violence triggers on, you know what's coming, the Bible. Christians and historians have dubbed the warnings as misguided and absurd and incompatible with discussions about morality. Joining me now is co-host of the Catholic Unscripted podcast, Mark Lambert. Mark, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Mark, I mean, I can see from the smile on your face already what you make of this story, but just articulate for me your feelings about it.
I think it's typical of the culture that wants to sexualise our children and have drag queens and all this kind of stuff. And they want to censor the Bible, you know, they want to censor the book that built our civilization. It's just so vacuous in academic terms that this is the way that they want to move forward. And it's kind of redolent of that post-Enlightenment ideology that says that we need to tear down the things that have worked for hundreds of years. You know, we've stood on the shoulders of those who've gone before us, built on these principles. But in reality, it stifles critical thinking, any deep textual engagement. And instead of equipping students to grapple with complex narratives that reflect the human condition, like sin, sacrifice, salvation, these warnings promote intellectual avoidance, reducing profound theological events like Christ's crucifixion to just triggers for graphic bodily injury or sexual violence. This isn't education, Dawn. It's a superficial evasion that undermines the very purpose of academia.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. 27 minutes past 10. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Here they are, the former Labour MP Stephen Pound and broadcaster and journalist Mike Parry.
The gentlemanly broadcaster.
Indeed,
absolutely.
Statler and Waldorf.
Well, shall we start with that story that Country Life magazine has published a long, long list of characteristics that you need to show that you're a true gentleman.
Yes.
Which includes writing thank you letters, never running for things in public. I think that means things like buses and trains. Is a good kisser.
Oh, no, we don't want to know about that.
No, we don't. There's too many weird ones here, like only ever stop at a motorway service station when you want to use the loo. What?
Why else?
I've eaten at loads of motorway service stations, you know, travelling up and down the country watching my football team. Nothing wrong with them.
Do you position the handbag on your left hand?
No.
Is this Lady Bracknell?
I don't know.
I was always taught that the definition of a gentleman was someone who can play the bagpipes but doesn't.
Yeah.
That's a good definition. So it's Alistair Campbell's no gentleman because he's always playing the back.
This is a bit of fun.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never eats on the go. Now, this is something I do support. The one thing I can't stand is seeing some ignorant person
Scoffing in the street.
Scoffing in the street, you know, eating a bit of pizza or crumbs falling all over the pavement. I think it's horrible. And one of the places where I used to see that happening a lot, of course, was New York City. And New York City is now, of course...
Well, we've come to that in a moment, but one of the things, and the thing about this list, firstly, I think to myself, what about ladies? What's the definition of a lady? And,
are you allowed to say lady? Are you not supposed to say woman?
This is GB News. We can say what we believe. But the other thing is, I have to say that when you talk about some of these sort of gentlemanly attributes, I mean, most of them make a great deal of sense. I don't have a particular argument about that. But there's one interesting one. Mike and I have one thing in common. We actually both...
Only one?
Only one.
Right.
Well, I suppose I'd say we're patriots. Well, we go to football. We go to football a lot.
Yeah.
You know, our weekend is not this. Yet neither of us would ever wear a football shirt.
No.
Or team shirt. Though I did have one.
Even at the match?
Oh, never.
No, but I did have one that said Fulham boys on tour. These colours don't run. But I thought, no, that's
no, exactly.
But it's interesting because that's one of the definitions of the gentleman. Now, the idea that a gentleman would actually wear a Millwall top or anything like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But there is a serious point here, isn't there, which is that certainly over recent years, traditional chivalry has gone out of fashion. And there's a piece in, I think, The Times today about David Gandy, the model, saying that he tries to be gentlemanly and opens the door for people. But one woman said to him, I can open the door myself.
I had that happen to me. I've had that happen to me. I think it's very gentlemanly to say, hello, my dear, and which past and say, don't open the door for me. I've had that. This is the one I like, because I'm guilty of this. A gentleman is somebody who knows that babe is a pig and not a term of endearment. I'm afraid I come from a generation where I still call my close female friends babe, and they love it. You would love it, Miriam, wouldn't you?
Sure?
No,
I'm certain.
Sure they love it.
What was Bev Turner used to call you?
Call me
something
Mrs.
Babe?
Kate.
Didn't she?
Magnet.
Babe Magnet. But I'm a middle-aged babe magnet. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
He's a sex symbol.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, most women, if I call them babe, they'd fetch me one round the ear.
No. I think it's a very endearing term indeed. There's another one here which is going to get me into trouble. Can poach or scramble eggs. Now, my problem there is I have never eaten an egg in the whole of my life. What? Never once eaten an egg. What? When my mother used to put it in a bottle, it made me sick. When I was about...
Why do you put egg in a bottle?
Well, don't they mix it up and put it into a baby's bottle or something?
That's an eggnog. That's a very, very No. But that's Advocaat.
No.
If Childline was around now,
but at the age of... No, even at...
Social services. Is your mother alive? Let's interview her.
Even at the age of 2 or 3, my mother would try to stuff egg sandwiches into my mouth, and it made me ill because something about the rubberiness of an egg I can't get past my throat. So, you know, when you go to these places where you get the buffet and all that, or Wetherspoon's breakfast, my favourite, the full breakfast and all that, I always say, excuse me, I don't eat eggs. Can you take that egg out and put another sausage on, please? And they all think I'm a weirdo, but it's not my fault. I've never eaten an egg.
I wonder if a Wetherspoon's breakfast is in that list of how to be a gentleman.
No, but the other thing is one of the attributes as a gentleman, which I find this a little bit tendentious, is that they think that Roger Moore was the best 007. Now, everybody with an ounce of sanity knows that Sean Connery...
Do not agree. Roger Moore was the best.
Oh, no. And he was funny.
Excuse me, he was funny, he was light-hearted, serious at the same time.
Sorry, 007 is a killer.
No, well, he is a killer.
Light-hearted.
He is a killer, and the best film, of course, was The Spy Who Loved Me, because Barbara Bach was the most beautiful Bond woman ever, and the opening song by Carly Simon was exquisite. Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better. Yeah. Hang on a second, Ursula Andress in Doctor No, that is a high bar.
A very, very beautiful woman, I agree, but Barbara Bach just tips it for me.
It's not very gentlemanly, is it? Exactly, before the conversation for an ungentlemanly term.
When they return, they are going to talk about the extraordinary shenanigans in New York.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
going to be fun.
And as a former New Yorker...
Oh, I lived there on and off for 10 years, you know, and it was in the 80s, early 90s. It was the greatest city in the world because it was the Thatcher-Reagan bonding era.
You also had Mayor Lindsay then, didn't you?
Well, funny enough...
Mayor Lindsay was a Democrat with a Republican agenda.
Funny enough, when I first went there, it was Mayor Ed Koch, and he was the same.
Gentlemen, we're going to talk about this after the break because we're not going to news yet.
Yeah.
We were going to news.
What's fascinating about this Grand Army win in
we
New
are
York.
ready. Sorry, Stephen.
Disaster for democracy.
You are a disaster to talk to. You're quite right, Stephen. That's why if you'd stood against
Disaster on feet.
We're going to these headlines with Sam Francis. Sorry for the chaos.
Very good morning to you. Got there in the end, 10:33. The top story this hour. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says everyone will have to contribute, refusing to rule out tax rises on the 26th of November in her budget. Think tanks say there could be a £50 billion gap to fill in the public finances. One suggests a 2p hike to income tax is on the way. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith blames Labour for crippling the economy.
There's no economy on the planet that's taxed its way to success. We all understand that we need a safety net in society, but what you really need is economic growth. You need the government off people's backs.
MPs are holding crisis talks today over alleged BBC bias on Trump and the Gaza war. A whistleblower memo claims BBC Arabic minimised Israeli suffering, while a Panorama episode allegedly misled viewers by editing a Trump speech. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch told GB News anyone who put out misinformation should go.
And I do think heads should roll. Whoever it was who did that should be sacked. That's what Tim Davie should be doing.
The National Crime Agency has reopened 236 investigations into group-based child sexual abuse that may have been wrongly closed. Operation Beacon Port is now reviewing more than a decade of cases where police and prosecutors took no further action after errors were uncovered. Ofwat has blocked more than £4 million in executive bonuses at 6 water companies, including Thames and Southern Water, after repeated pollution failures. The watchdog says the firms triggered new rules preventing payouts when environmental or service targets are missed. And Marks & Spencer has revealed the cyber attack that crippled its online systems cost around £136 million, almost wiping out profits for the first half of the year. The retailer, though, expects to reclaim most of the loss through insurance. Those are your headlines for now. I'll be back with the full roundup at 11.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Coming up next, financial literacy, less exams, more diversity are going to be a key part of the new curriculum. Are Labour dumbing down schools?
Sounds like it, doesn't it? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. More wet weather to come, particularly across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. England and Wales staying fairly cloudy and very mild, and quite a gusty wind blowing, quite noticeable if you're out this evening for a firework display. This morning it's pretty wet across Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy bursts of rain here, not completely dry for Wales and England, particularly in western areas, some showery rain, but that should be easing off generally. And then much of the Midlands and eastern England will stay dry, predominantly cloudy, but still quite bright, some hazy sunshine, lifting those temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17 degrees. But there is quite a noticeable gusty wind, quite mild even where the rain persists across Scotland and Northern Ireland well into this evening. As I say, if you are heading out to a firework display, that gusty wind might be quite noticeable, but you're not going to need to really layer up because it will be pretty mild. Apart from the odd shower, most of England and Wales dry, still quite wet though across Cumbria perhaps, and outbreaks of rain lingering into this evening across Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Quite a wet end to the day across northern Scotland. Bit of a northerly breeze across the Northern Isles. That's the only place that's even remotely cool. Elsewhere, a very mild evening leading into a very mild night. The rain will gradually ebb away from Scotland, so things turning a bit drier. The breeze still quite noticeable, quite brisk, so that should stop too much in the way of mist and fog forming, but look at the temperatures overnight. Many places holding up in the teens and pretty much across the country. Double digits to start Thursday, so another mild day, another predominantly cloudy day. Not as wet across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but there will still be some outbreaks of rain, particularly coming into western Scotland. Bar the odd shower, again, much of England and Wales looking dry, but fairly cloudy. Some brightness coming through. Overall, a sunnier day likely across Wales and southwest England. And again, with the winds coming up from the south, it will be another very mild day.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say, because when you talk, we listen.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M73 southbound is closed at Junction 2 for maintenance. An incident on the M4 eastbound disrupts traffic between junctions 38 and 37. In Durham, a vehicle breakdown on the A19 northbound entry slip from the A181 closes one lane. The M1 northbound exit slip at Junction 20 in Leicestershire has one lane shut due to a collision. Medway's M2 eastbound at Junction 4 is affected by a collision, causing express delays. On the trains, disruptions impact the Elizabeth line between London Paddington and Abbey Wood. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes to 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
So the government's announced plans to cut GCSE exam time by around 3 hours after a major review found pupils are being over-tested.
Well, this comes as the Labour Party confirms it will scrap Michael Gove's English baccalaureate and overhaul how core subjects like maths and English are taught in schools.
Let's talk to the writer and academic Andrew Tetterborn. Andrew, good morning. When you look at the headlines and just read superficially, it does seem, doesn't it, that they are dumbing down the curriculum, talking about learning about fake news, more citizenship. I'd have thought it should be, particularly when they're that young, all about the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic.
Well, good morning, Andrew. I think to a large extent you're right. Now, I must admit, I'm not an educationalist, though I did, just before I went on air, have a look at some of the papers written by Becky Francis, who led the committee that made these recommendations. Now, I am an academic. Shall I say that the scientific volapük in which those papers were written would have had me asleep in about 2 minutes, but no doubt other people understand them better than I do. But I do have an instinctive worry about this. And I think the first point is that there's a limit to what you can teach in schools. And I think this is very much going to cram the curriculum and cram out a lot of things that are quite important. So, for example, teaching climate change, which is going to take, I suspect, quite a lot of time. Teaching primary school children how to recognize conspiracy theories. I think actually that might be something very difficult to do in a primary school. And when this is said to be crowding out, for example, the penalization of schools who don't teach foreign languages, which is one of the proposals, and when also you have, for example, a statement that history should essentially, well, not quite be reduced to the Holocaust and World War II, but something quite close to it, then I'm afraid I begin rather to smell a rat.
Andrew, do you think this calls into question what schools are for? Traditionally, the understanding is that the education system is there to teach children facts, knowledge and skills that they will need in adult life. But over the last 20 years, we've seen this drift towards using schools for social engineering to try and increase equality, whatever that means, celebrate diversity, teach children about relationships, all subjects in which teachers are not expert and which there are no facts.
I think that's absolutely right. And actually, the insistence on climate change here is undoubtedly going to be very much a license for activism in schools. And I think actually one of the problems here is that we're rather losing the idea of what schools are for. Schools exist partly, as you say, to teach people the facts that matter in life, but also partly to take children out of themselves. Now, one thing worrying here is the idea that everything should be as familiar as possible. to the children. So, for example, in English lessons, we shouldn't be teaching grammar. We should be teaching things like email and social media. Now, frankly, children are going to come across those absolutely at home.
Yeah,
My children, I think, were computer literate by the age of about 4. Why we introduce this into schools, I'm not quite sure. And actually, I don't equally think it's going to make children enjoy schools anymore. If you live in a boring tower block, or in some slightly featureless estate at the edge of Birmingham, you don't want to be taught about the sort of things you find at home. You want to be taken out of yourself. You want to learn about the romance of English history. You want to learn about the way in which your language works. You don't want a sort of reheated version of what you see every day at home. At least that's my view. And it's certainly the view of my children.
And do you think there's a misunderstanding as well of how children learn and what they're ready for at different ages? Because it strikes me that at 4 or 5 or 6, children's brains are ready to learn lots of facts. They're interested in knowledge. But the idea of teaching them how to recognise a conspiracy or how to think critically when they don't have any knowledge about the world, it just seems
I think that's right. Children are actually sponges up until the age of about 6 or 7. I no doubt some educationalist will tell me I'm wrong, and I'd be very happy to hear from them. But they generally are sponges. And the trouble is, trying to teach about conspiracy theories actually, in practice, is going to end up as activism under another name. You know exactly what's going to happen. People say immigration needs to be limited. People say that immigrants come here and commit crimes. This is a classic example of disinformation. This is what you need to look out for. So what you've got is something masquerading as a teaching in how to recognize disinformation, how to handle life skills. But I suspect in the hands of many teachers, it's going to be a gentle bit of left-wing indoctrination. I hope I'm wrong, but I strongly suspect I'm not. It's one of those cases where I hope somebody does prove me wrong.
We hope you're right too, Andrew. Andrew, thanks for joining us. That's the writer and academic Andrew Tetterborn. I think it's inevitable, and I'm not so sure I share Andrew's view. It will be gentle indoctrination. I think it might be full-throttled.
I agree. It's a story that's going to write itself, sadly. I mean, it's not to say that schools don't need any reform. I don't know why the school leaving age is 18. I think it's ridiculous. Lots of children are ready to go and get a job at 15, and maybe just keeping them in school longer and working out how to fill the time.
Yeah.
There's definitely need for reform. But
some of my mates have been very successful, left school at 16.
Exactly, yeah. People always did in the past.
Yeah, they did.
Well, anyway, still ahead, we'll be giving you all the details you need to know about the newly elected first Muslim mayor in New York, Zohran Mamdani.
And do stay tuned, that he's a really, really fascinating character, and it's going to be trouble ahead with the President of the United States.
Indeed. Also up next, there's a beautiful display of 100,000 knitted poppies from around the world going on display at Southend Pier.
But first, that elusive holiday sun, here it is. It's coming up.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy downpours likely over the northeast of Spain and southern France over the course of Thursday. Some showery rain also for the Greek islands, particularly Corfu. Much of Italy looking fine with some autumn sunshine in Rome. There's that heavy rain just clearing away from Barcelona, but bringing some downpours to the south of France. Showery rain also clearing away from the Balearics. Much of southern Spain dry and sunny. Small chance of a shower or two over the Canaries. They should be clearing away as we head into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
It's 10 to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, a stunning sea of red has taken over Clevedon Pier today in Southend for the launch of Poppies on the Pier. It's a remarkable community art installation made up of 110,000 knitted and crocheted poppies.
Each one has been lovingly crafted by volunteers from across the world to honour the fallen. And GB News national reporter Will Godley joins us now from Southend. Good morning, Will. What a spectacular sight.
It is beautiful. Welcome to Southend. We are 1.3 miles out to sea. This is the longest pleasure pier anywhere in the world and now home to the UK's biggest poppy installation. Take a look at it here. There's 110,000 poppies, all knitted, crocheted from volunteers around the world. The appeal here went viral with volunteers from America, New Zealand, Australia, all answering the call to knit some poppies. But that's only the first part of the puzzle. They then had to be attached to 5 kilometres of string and then be assembled here, and that wouldn't be possible without the volunteers. Janice, Linda, you were here till late last night getting this all together. What were some of the challenges?
Weather, especially at the end of the pier, because once it's blowing a gale up here, it's dreadful, but we managed.
And this is, I mean, how do you feel about getting this done for the community?
Amazed, very proud. Yeah, it's been a big thing, but we've done it, we've achieved it. It's for the city, for the veterans. It's just amazing.
It's certainly
absolutely amazing.
For the veterans, and we're speaking now to a local veteran, John. You've seen this for the first time today. How does it make you feel seeing something so spectacular?
Oh, I just thought it was amazing, and yeah, I'm very proud that the whole thing has happened, and to see the size of the achievement. This wasn't intended to be as big as this, but it's just amazing. The support from not just the local community but all over the world. You know, it's come in as something that's just, well, it takes the words away, and I think that's, yeah.
Well, thank you, John, for joining us on GB News. And we can speak to Alison, the mastermind behind this spectacular poppy installation. You put the appeal out back in April. Yeah. Did you ever expect this?
Absolutely not, no. We were probably expecting around 7,000 to 10,000 if we're lucky, and here we are 110,000 poppies later.
And they came from all over the world. I think it's about half an hour to knit each poppy, an amazing achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's half an hour to knit each poppy, it's about half an hour to make a chain, it's probably about another half an hour to stitch the poppies onto the chain. So if you add it all up, it's thousands and thousands of hours of volunteering time.
Amazing. Thank you, Alison. Well, it is a breathtaking experience here, Andrew and Miriam. It's open till the 16th of November and well worth a visit.
Looks amazing. Thank you so much for that. Well,
my cousin Anne, she lives in a lovely village in Wiltshire, and she's done something like that, an amazing poppy display at the local church. It's beautiful, and people are coming from all around to see it. It's a lovely thing to do, I think.
It's beautiful. In Felixstowe, there are some knitted soldiers on top of some of the bollards in the high street. I forgot to take some photos.
Oh, that's very nice. It's a lovely thing. And we've got our poppies on.
We have. Mine did fall off.
Mine is for the poppy cabs. This is the cab drivers who take the veterans to cenotaphs all around the country on Thursday, and they do the same on Remembrance Sunday, and also they often take them to France, Normandy, to the... it's a fantastic charity.
Wow, brilliant. Well, coming up next, we'll be giving you the latest update on the injustice facing the grooming gang victims. It's being blamed on human error.
Do you believe it?
Don't know.
I don't think I do.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. More wet weather to come, particularly across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. England and Wales staying fairly cloudy and very mild, and quite a gusty wind blowing, quite noticeable if you're out this evening for a firework display. This morning it's pretty wet across Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy bursts of rain here. Not completely dry for Wales and England, particularly in western areas, some showery rain, but that should be easing off generally. And then much of the Midlands and eastern England will stay dry, predominantly cloudy, but still quite bright, some hazy sunshine, lifting those temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17 degrees. But there is quite a noticeable gusty wind. Quite mild even where the rain persists across Scotland and Northern Ireland well into this evening. As I say, if you are heading out to a firework display, that gusty wind might be quite noticeable, but you're not going to need to really layer up because it will be pretty mild. Apart from the odd shower, most of England and Wales dry. Still quite wet though across Cumbria perhaps, and outbreaks of rain lingering into this evening across Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Quite a wet end to the day across northern Scotland. Bit of a northerly breeze across the Northern Isles. That's the only place that's even remotely cool. Elsewhere, a very mild evening leading into a very mild night. The rain will gradually ebb away from Scotland, so things turning a bit drier. The breeze still quite noticeable, quite brisk, so that should stop too much in the way of mist and fog forming. But look at the temperatures overnight. Many places holding up in the teens and pretty much across the country. Double digits to start Thursday, so another mild day, another predominantly cloudy day. Not as wet across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but there will still be some outbreaks of rain, particularly coming into western Scotland. Bar the odd shower again, much of England and Wales looking dry, but fairly cloudy. Some brightness coming through. Overall, a sunnier day likely across Wales and southwest England. And again, with the winds coming up from the south, it will be another very mild day.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
£11 live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Hundreds of previously closed grooming gang investigations are set to be reviewed alongside the National Public Inquiry. But why were they dropped in the first place?
Human error, that's one of the reasons being given by the National Crime Agency, as 236 cases are set to be reviewed urgently.
But as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
So that breaking news from New York, the city's elected a socialist mayor. He's 34-year-old Zoham Mandawi. He will become New York's first Muslim leader. He promises he will be Donald Trump's worst nightmare. And speaking of the US president,
this will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Yes, today marks 1 year since Trump's election victory, and he's had quite a busy second term. But has he made America great again?
education overhaul, the biggest shake-up of the curriculum in a generation, fewer exams, more diversity, more awareness of fake news, financial literacy and critical thinking are all on the new agenda.
Mine will be a budget for growth, with fairness at its heart, and a budget that supports businesses to create jobs and to innovate.
Fears are growing that we will all have to pay more tax, as the Chancellor warns that each of us must do our bit as the budget gets closer.
And construction is due to start on Britain's largest Christian monument after the 40 million fundraising target was met. It's in the Midlands. The New York mayor, it's an extraordinary victory. Massive turnout. He got over 50% of the vote, and it's going to be a massive showdown with Donald Trump.
I mean, some of his policies are extreme: communist, price fixing, keeping rents down, even state-owned shops to try and keep food prices down. But I think he could be a problem for the Democrats, because if it all goes badly wrong, which certainly his policies on drugs are bound to go badly wrong,
I think it
then the Republicans will be able to hold that up as an example of Democrat policies when it comes to the midterms.
Yeah, New York, one of America's most celebrated cities. The eyes of America will be on what he does there. He's only 34. He's very inexperienced, very charismatic. You know who stayed up to watch the results? Our very own mayor in London here, Sadiq Khan.
That is an interesting factor about this as well, the number of people in the Labour Party who've been campaigning for him. And again, accusations of interference from each side of the Atlantic. But the truth is, the Conservatives and the Republicans and Reform and the Democrats and the Labour Party have always had close relationships. Just how it is.
Well, it's fascinating, so stay tuned for that. Let us know your thoughts on all our talking points today.
And first of all, the news with Sam Francis.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you, and good morning to you. Just coming up to 4 minutes past 11. Ministers are under pressure today over which group of taxes could go up in just a few weeks. That's after Chancellor Rachel Reeves warned that everyone will have to contribute to fix the economy. She's refused to repeat Labour's promise from the election not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT, sparking speculation that those taxes could now be on the table in her budget later this month. Experts say she needs to fill a £50 billion gap in the public finances, and some think tanks believe a 2p rise in income tax may be likely. But the Tories say she should quit if she breaks her word. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith spoke to us on GB News earlier today.
There's no economy on the planet that's taxed its way to success. We all understand that we need a safety net in society, but what you really need is economic growth. You need the government off people's backs.
Turning to news in the United States, where at least 7 people have been killed after a cargo plane crashed near Louisville Airport in Kentucky, bursting into flames shortly after takeoff. Well, as you can see there, the UPS aircraft was fueled by more than 38,000 gallons of jet fuel, sending thick smoke across the city. Governor Andy Beshear has called the crash catastrophic and urged residents to seek shelter. Air crash investigators are arriving later today to determine just what caused the tragedy. And staying in the United States, it has been a night of victories for Democrats across the country, and in New York, history has been made. Zohran Mamdani, who calls himself Trump's worst nightmare, has become the city's first Muslim and South Asian mayor, and its youngest in a decade. Democrats also clinched key governor races in Virginia and in New Jersey, while California voted to redraw district maps in a direct challenge to Republican strongholds. Donald Trump, marking now a year since his re-election, brushed off the defeats on Truth Social. But in his victory speech, Mamdani told cheering supporters the nation has been betrayed by Trump.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
Back here at home, hundreds of previously closed child sexual abuse investigations are being reopened after a national review found cases were wrongly dropped. Under Operation Beacon Port, the National Crime Agency is examining cases where police and prosecutors took no further action between 2010 and 2025. The review, ordered after Baroness Louise Casey's audit, has already identified more than 230 investigations that appear to be incorrectly closed, with early findings suggesting human error played a part. It runs alongside new national public inquiries into group-based child sexual exploitation, which has already faced setbacks and resignations among key figures. That comes as the Office for National Statistics has today revealed what it calls a hidden crime, with nearly 1 in 3 adults in England and Wales saying they were abused as children. That's around 13.5 million people, with women more likely than men to have suffered abuse. Emotional abuse was the most common, followed by physical, sexual and then neglect. The ONS says the figures highlight the scale of the issue and should help shape how the country protects its most vulnerable children. More than £4 million in potential water bonuses for company bosses have been blocked after firms failed to meet performance targets, including over pollution. The water regulator Ofwat says 6 companies, Anglian, Southern, Thames, United Utilities, Wessex and Yorkshire Water, triggered its new rules on executive pay since they were introduced in June. It means directors at those firms receive no annual bonuses or awards this year, as Ofwat tightened scrutiny following public anger over sewage spills and poor service standards. And Marks & Spencer says its profits have been almost wiped out after a cyber attack costing around £136 million. The retailer's counting the cost after one of the most disruptive incidents in history, after the attack crippled online operations from Easter right into the summer. Profits before tax plunged from £392 million to just £3.4 million in the first half of the year, though M&S says it is claiming back £100 million through insurance. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom with Andrew and Miriam.
Well, let's see what you've been saying at home on gbnews.com/your say. Lots of chat about the New York mayor election, which we'll be covering in a few minutes. Karen says New York will go the same way as London, downhill. The new mayor, Mamdani, has been compared, of course, to Sir Sadiq Khan.
I hope he's not that bad.
Well, let's see. And David says Mamdani will be New York's worst nightmare too. New Yorkers are about to find out soon enough the error of their ways. The decay, crime and horror show begins now. It does seem incredible how these same far-left policies, defund the police, deregulate drugs, come up every generation and they always have the same disastrous consequences.
I know. And there's going to be such a clash between Trump and the new mayor.
Exactly.
And they both look forward to it.
I'm sure they will. Well, maybe Donald Trump will stop talking about Sadiq Khan all the time now. He's got his own left-wing mayor close to home.
Now, hundreds of previously closed grooming gang investigations are being reviewed by the National Crime Agency, and the reason may make your blood boil. GB News national reporter Charlie Peters joins us to tell us more. Charlie.
Well, the reason your blood might boil is because some of these cases being reviewed have already been identified as potentially involving human error in them being closed early or being sent for no further action. Now, the National Crime Agency's Operation Beacon Port team, which is the investigation that was launched after Baroness Casey returned with her recommendations in June when she conducted that rapid audit earlier this year, they've now found 1,273 cases which they're reviewing, sent to them by 23 police forces across England and Wales. Both Police Scotland and the Police Service in Northern Ireland aren't contributing at this stage. It's just England and Wales focused. But of that 1,273, 236 have been issued as an urgent priority because they include allegations of rape. Now, there is so much concern about the public inquiry recommended by Louise Casey, which Sir Keir Starmer ordered right after that recommendation was made in June, because that inquiry's been scuppered by a few hurdles. Many victims quitting due to concerns that they weren't being listened to. There was concerns about issues on ethnicity but not being focused on. They said that it had been watered down because there were concerns about them widening the scope of the inquiry. The two prospective leading candidates to chair it, they've also both pulled out. But on this separate recommendation that Casey made, this police investigation, already we are seeing some action being taken. It's understood they've already identified some of the incorrect closing of those cases, such as victims and survivors not having their accounts being recorded, suspects not being interviewed properly, and crimes not being recorded, lines of inquiry not being pursued. So these are only from the 1st of January of 2010 to the 31st of March of this year. So that 15-year period, plenty for them to look at. But we heard from the Rotherham MP, Sarah Champion, last night. Now, Sarah told us that this scandal goes way beyond the 1st of January 2010. We know this is a decades-long crisis, but she was glad that the NCA are reviewing these cases. She said, "I hope justice is swiftly secured for the victims and survivors." She said, "Let us never forget that at the heart of every case, the police or CPS decided not to pursue. There is a child, horribly exploited and abused, and a perpetrator who got away with it." Now, what the NCA have also done as part of this operation, they've issued...
Charlie may still be doing it.
Perpetrators. Yeah. This is what I wanted to say based on what Sarah said, because what the NCA have done as part of this operation, they've issued a directive to every police force in England and Wales under the Crime and Courts Act to say they need to get a grip basically on how to understand these crimes, but also the recording of ethnicity data as well, to standardise the approach. There was a report earlier last month from the Inspectorate of Constabulary which criticised how there were some shortcomings across police forces in the country and how they're dealing with grooming gang cases. With that direction, it's hoped there might be a more consistent recording of information and therefore a more effective prosecution of abusers. Because what they're also saying, the NCA, Britain's FBI, that we need to start understanding group-based CSE is not just an isolated form of abuse, but as organised and serious crime. They're not just abusing children, they're also running drugs and guns. If all the police forces get this, perhaps we'll see more prosecutions.
Well, let's hope so, Charlie.
Absolutely, and hopefully some progress in terms of not just prosecuting people from the past, but stopping it happening again.
Yeah, now Zohan Madami, this is a name you're going to hear quite a lot of, we can predict here on GB News in the coming years, because he is the new mayor of New York, the first Muslim mayor of the biggest city in the US.
Well, here's what he said following his alarming victory.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Well, to discuss this incredible victory, the US political commentator Toria Brooke joins us now. Toria, thanks so much for joining us on the channel. Were you surprised at the scale of Mamdani's victory last night?
I'm currently hearing audio from someone else.
Ah, that's not good. So can you hear at all what we're saying? OK, we'll come back to Toria in a minute. Of course, one of the criticisms of being made by the Republicans is that an independent did not pull out of the race, which obviously meant the vote on the right or the centre was split.
And he was I think we can probably use the word pretty sleazy character, the independent, Andrew Cuomo, a very famous name in New York, and he got, well, the Republican got less than 10% of the vote. And it was a bad night for the Republicans because there were two governorships up for election which went Democrat too. I mean, not mid-term yet for Trump, but Trump says his name wasn't on the ballot paper. If it had been, it would have been different. But this mayor is going to open state-run grocery stores. Can you believe it? Now, if you're... a lot of the grocery stores in New York City, like in this city, Marmaid City, by poor migrant families, they're going to be pushed out of business. And also they'll be cheaper.
Yes.
Because they're going to be subsidised. There'll be queues outside. Will they be able to supply and demand?
It all sounds very Soviet, really, doesn't it?
I'm afraid it really does.
But it seems like the driver behind his victory is the fact that prices in New York, both of house prices, transport, food, are just so high that people with ordinary jobs just can't afford to live there. Young professionals even struggling to make ends meet. And so, of course, people do turn to this far-left socialism in times of poverty.
And he's going to tax the richest people in London, in New York.
Might try London as well.
Yeah, where have we heard that before? So what will they do? They'll just go next door. They'll go to Florida. They'll go somewhere else, won't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what New Yorkers should be most worried about is the drugs policy, because we've seen a number of cities in America ruined almost by the legitimisation of recreational drugs, whole areas of the cities just taken over by homeless people on drugs, lots of violence. Is the same going to happen in New York?
When I was in a few years ago, my partner, we did San Francisco, LA, we did the driving tour. The thing that we both remember most about San Francisco was the stench of cannabis, drugs. And the number of people really in a bad way in the streets.
Yeah.
Doorways everywhere.
Exactly. And every time these far-left policies are tried, people think, well, this time it will work, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Let's go back to our guest, Toria Brooke. Toria, can you hear us now okay? Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I am pulling a President Trump. I have not slept since last night, and I have a flight going out to the East Coast in a few hours. I will be accepting an award in D.C. for the Future 40, which names political figures that are up and coming. So thank you so much for having me. But I would love to comment on what happened with Mamdani. I think this is a huge tipping point in this country, and I think the pendulum has swung so far that while this is a horrific thing to happen, I think we're going to see New Yorkers now being forced to step up and get involved. And that's what we're seeing across this country. I mean, there was a blue wave that hit the East Coast. Virginia saw massive Democrat wins, as well as New York and New Jersey, unfortunately, which many people believe to be rigged. However, President Trump credits this to a lack of voter turnout, as well as lukewarm Republican candidates, as quoted by Alex Bruesewitz, one of the top Republican analysts. And I am just curious as to how we got to this point, and it disappoints me because I am from the Northeast, and I would like to see more conservative leadership.
What do you? So I was going to say, what do you think is the worst part of this man's mayoralty? Which part do you fear the most?
Which part of the mayor?
The new mayor of New York, yeah.
Well, there are many people that are concerned with the illegal immigration situation. As we know, at least 2 million illegals have actually been deported under President Trump. Now, New York was a major asylum city. We saw the hotels being taken over by many of these illegal migrants, and the crime that had escalated prior to President Trump being in office. Now I think people are worried that Mamdani is going to bring that back. And we're seeing a huge movement of the financial institutions that want to actually move their offices down to Florida. And some people in Florida don't want that to happen because then the rent prices are going to go up. But I truly hope there is some kind of a solution, because there shouldn't need to be a mass exodus.
What are your thoughts, though, about the role of the cost of living that has played in this election? Because certainly we've seen it in some major British cities, particularly London, that young professionals who might in the past have leaned towards the right, have voted Conservative, are now so unable to obtain any capital of their own, so unable to afford to buy a house, even make ends meet, that you can understand why they're leaning left.
Well, most people that I know outside of maybe the administration are actually living paycheck to paycheck right now. So there's definitely a widespread urgency for there to be some kind of an economic upheaval. Now, the economy might need a crash in order to see something like that change. But, it depends what state you're living in as far as the gas prices go, because I know California is still pretty high. But all we can do is hope that with all the strides that President Trump's making when it comes to oil, we know now that China has agreed to try to trade up with the United States as far as, I believe, Alaska oil. And that was a major issue because President Trump had a concern that China was going to continue to buy Russian oil. I would love to see our gas prices go down, as well as the cost of every other thing, including eggs. But I am not happy to hear about what's going on in the UK. However, it's enlightening to know that we're not alone in this.
Yeah, indeed. Toria Brooke, thanks so much for joining us. Sorry about we lost you earlier. Whatever we say about this guy, he's excited huge interest because the turnout was the highest since 1969. Yeah. That's incredible.
And he's charismatic. He's obviously a good speaker.
He is.
He's young. That really do.
And he's not establishment.
No.
And he's
well,
not
we will follow his.
But they say he'll rock the boat. He won't. He'll sink it.
Well, you heard it here first. Now, it's never too early to think about the festive season. And how would you like to have your Christmas on us this year? That's right, £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams, £1,000 to spend on a luxurious Christmas lunch. Andrew will cook it for you, and a Christmas-themed GB News goodie bag for under the tree.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back. And we have some breaking news now about a car ramming in France where several people have been injured. GB News national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now with the latest.
Well, Miriam and Andrew, we're hearing that this driver was shouting Allahu Akbar as he ploughed his car into a crowd of pedestrians on this French holiday island. This is just reports coming into us now from local media in France, but also from the gendarmerie there. Now, the French Interior Minister, Laurent Nunez, has said that the male driver rammed into pedestrians and cyclists. This is off the Atlantic coast, the Ile of Oloron, very close to the holiday resort La Rochelle. At least 10 people were injured. It's unclear at the moment the status of those injuries. CNews in France is reporting that 3 of them are serious, although other reports are indicating that 4 people may have been critically injured. The suspect has been arrested by the police. We're hearing from the gendarmerie in France that a 35-year-old man who is a resident of the island has already now been detained. And Christophe Seur, who's the mayor of Saint-Pierre-d'Oloron, which is where the incident occurred, said that the driver was known to police. This mayor told BMTV, a French broadcaster, he is someone who is known, particularly to the police, for behaviour that is not entirely normal and for alcohol-related problems. He also revealed, this mayor, that the driver had intentionally set fire to his vehicle after hitting these pedestrians and cyclists before he was stopped by the police. Now, this rampage, which occurred at around 8:45 this morning, took place on the island between Doluce-d'Oloron and Saint-Pierre-d'Oloron, so 2 different towns on the island. So deliberately steering his car, we're told, towards pedestrians and cyclists. Now, the public prosecutor in La Rochelle, Arnaud Laraise, he said that the suspect shouted Allah Akbar. That's according to the public prosecutor on mainland France in La Rochelle. Although the prosecutor went on to say that the motive has not been confirmed and the investigation will have to determine this. Now, immediately, Miriam and Andrew, audiences hearing about this incident will think about the spate of ISIS-related attacks, particularly on the continent that occurred around a decade ago during that heightened period of ISIS activity. The Promenade Anglais in Nice, for example, where there was a lorry attack targeting pedestrians during Bastille Day celebrations, I believe. There have been several other instances on the continent more recently where we've seen Islamist car ramming attacks, and there is this indication already coming out from the public prosecutor about the suspect in this case shouting Allah Akbar. Obviously, that phrase very closely linked to Islamist extremism. Now, the La Parisienne, French newspaper, is reporting that police found gas cylinders inside the suspect's car, which had only partially caught on fire. We're being told that this suspect in this car ramming attack has been taken into custody at the Saint-Pierre-d'Oloron police station, and they're investigating, according to this newspaper, whether the man was suffering from mental health issues. Now, we're being told also that he is a French national in his 30s and lives in a village on the west coast of the island of Oloron. And we're expecting Mr. Nunez to visit the French island at the request of the Prime Minister today.
All right, we'll have more on that as we get it, so stay tuned with us on Britain's Newsroom. Very grim news coming out of France.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom, and Prince William continues his trip to Rio de Janeiro for the Earthshot Prize and COP30.
So the Prince will host the Earthshot Prize later today. Ahead of that, he's been speaking at the United for Wildfire conference.
GB News' royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, is live in Rio. Cameron, bring us up to date.
Hi there, Miriam. Well, welcome to the very top of the mountain of Rio de Janeiro, and you may recognise this guy up above me. We are live at Christ the Redeemer statue ahead of Prince William's visit, which is happening in the next couple of moments, so hopefully we can bring that to you live. But first of all, just take a look at this spectacular view of Rio de Janeiro. The weather is absolutely glorious here. I'm sorry for those of you who are in London who are probably experiencing a lot of cold at the moment, but it really is fantastic. But the reason that Prince William is here this morning, as you said, Miriam and Andrew, is for his Environmental Earthshot Prize, and he's meeting all of the finalists for this year, for 2025. There's one UK finalist called Matter. Adam and Anthony I've just spotted. They've created a new company in Bristol. It's all about getting rid of microplastics in our water. So that's kind of why Prince William is here. But I think the reason they've chosen, of course, the Christ the Redeemer statue is because it's the iconic landmark of Rio de Janeiro, isn't it? It puts it firmly on the map. Princess Diana, Prince William's mother, visited here in 1992. So, of course, it is quite poignant, perhaps, for Prince William to return to this particular site. It's his first official visit to Rio de Janeiro. But later on today, Miriam and Andrew, there's going to be a green carpet with some very big celebrities on there, including Kylie Minogue and Shawn Mendes. So keep tuning into GB News all day, and we will bring that to you as soon as we can.
All right, that's Cameron Walker. And, of course, don't forget it's PMQs at midday. And you shouldn't forget that, because guess who is answering questions for the government? Keir Starmer is on his way to the ludicrous COP30 conference, where, by the way, I have to tell you, they've chopped down 8 miles of rainforest to make way for a road. Appalling. You couldn't make it up. 8 miles of rainforest they've chopped down to link Rio to where they're holding their conference. It's appalling. But we've got David Lammy, our Deputy Prime Minister, is standing in for the Prime Minister, and he will be up against a man called James Cartledge, who is the Shadow Defence Secretary. Lammy can combust at the dispatch box. He got into a terrible tiz the other week over something.
But I expect he'll be very well prepared.
Yes, he should be.
Who knows? It might be a good spectacle. Do carry on tuning in. While you're with GB News' Britain's Newsroom, stick with us. We're going to have a short break.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. More wet weather to come, particularly across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. England and Wales staying fairly cloudy and very mild, and quite a gusty wind blowing, quite noticeable if you're out this evening for a firework display. This morning it's pretty wet across Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy bursts of rain here, not completely dry for Wales and England, particularly in western areas, some showery rain, but that should be easing off generally. And then much of the Midlands and eastern England will stay dry, predominantly cloudy, but still quite bright, some hazy sunshine, lifting those temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17 degrees. But there is quite a noticeable gusty wind, quite mild even where the rain persists across Scotland and Northern Ireland well into this evening. As I say, if you are heading out to a firework display, that gusty wind might be quite noticeable, but you're not going to need to really layer up because it will be pretty mild. Apart from the odd shower, most of England and Wales dry, still quite wet though across Cumbria perhaps, and outbreaks of rain lingering into this evening across Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland. Quite a wet end to the day across northern Scotland. Bit of a northerly breeze across the Northern Isles. That's the only place that's even remotely cool. Elsewhere, a very mild evening leading into a very mild night. The rain will gradually ebb away from Scotland, so things turning a bit drier. The breeze still quite noticeable, quite brisk, so that should stop too much in the way of mist and fog forming. But look at the temperatures overnight. Many places holding up in the teens and pretty much across the country. Double digits to start Thursday, so another mild day, another predominantly cloudy day. Not as wet across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but there will still be some outbreaks of rain, particularly coming into western Scotland. Bar the odd shower, again, much of England and Wales looking dry, but fairly cloudy. Some brightness coming through. Overall, a sunnier day likely across Wales and southwest England. And again, with the winds coming up from the south, it will be another very mild day.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
.35, you're with Britain's News on GB News with Andrew and Miriam.
Now, in the run-up to the election, Labour promised justice for victims of one of Britain's longest-running scandals. But months on, those affected say that nothing's been done.
Starmer promised he would meet us.
Will he meet him? Of course I will. By the end of the year? As soon as we can. I'll happily meet them again.
Keir Starmer, live on BBC Breakfast, said that he would meet with the nuclear test veterans. So we invited him to a private screening of a new documentary in London on the 4th of November. It was so he would have a private area to meet with the nuclear test veterans and watch this incredible documentary. But he's not coming.
So the Prime Minister did not attend that private screening of Our Planet, The People, My Blood, ahead of its release next year. Now campaigners are saying he must keep his word and deliver the action they promised, because he says he's going to meet the vets for the first time by the end of this year, and we're already in November.
Well, we're joined now by the founder at Lab Rats International, Alan Owen, and nuclear veteran Terry Hughes, and the cinematographer Daniel Everett Locke. Welcome to the studio. So last night you showed this film, private screening in London. Tell us a bit more about the film, Alan, and why it was made.
So the film is a fantastic documentary. Daniel has been following me for the last 3 years.
Gosh.
It's been 3 years of production.
Wow.
He's been all over the world, to Australia, to America as well, to show the global impact of nuclear testing. It's a very private story. It's a very personal story for me and the family. It explains all about what's happened to me as the subject to lots of the film, to show that it affects hundreds and hundreds and millions of people and families, like, you know, obviously the nuclear test veterans, that it's happening today. We're still suffering today, and that's the whole point of the documentary, is it shows that 2025, we still haven't addressed the issues.
And Terry, a lot of the veterans have had those that are still with us, yes. I mean, because these tests were taking place in the 50s and 60s, have had ongoing health problems. Some have lost their lives. Some of them, it's impacted future generations because the health issues they've had have been passed on to their unborn children.
That's quite great. First of all, can I say thank you to the GB News for supporting the veterans. You've done a great job of that. We appreciate it. But yes, I mean, I was only 19 at the time when the biggest H-bomb was ever exploded on Christmas Island, and a lot of us have suffered in late life. It's like a hidden bullet just suddenly coming out as we get older. And my own son is very badly affected, so which is very disappointing for me, because he can't have any children either, amongst other things he's got. And I'm still suffering from various skin cancers and other things that have happened, so it's a bit of a blow to us. But regarding the film, I thought it was an excellent film. It covered everything as far as we're concerned, the veterans. And fortunately, I didn't have to use my handkerchief last night. I expected to, because I'm quite emotional about these sort of things.
Daniel,
yes,
so what inspired you to make the film, and what impact do you hope that it will have?
Yeah, well, the inspiration really was actually a short doc that I saw about 9 years ago that was covering the atomic veterans. And they talked about the experience of experiencing the bomb. And this one thing that kind of got me was there was this one guy talking about being able to see the X-ray of his hands through his closed eyes, you know, covering his eyes, because of how bright the flash from this weapon is.
Yeah.
And that kind of visual just stuck with me as like something that was just absolutely kind of insane.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to like family and friends about this, and no one knew about it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, I don't really understand how this hasn't been covered more in the media and in like documentaries. So it kind of became a thing that I wanted to make a documentary about that at some point, and then many years later, when I kind of experienced enough.
And Alan, there's a terrible cynicism in my heart and soul, I'm afraid, that successive governments, not just saying this one, have wanted this to slip under the radar, because as these men get older, they're dying off. So compensation, the clamour for compensation will go away.
Absolutely. The delay, deny until they die is the statement that these guys live with, because we invited Keir Starmer to the event. He unfortunately denied and said, no, I'm sorry, I'm too busy to come and see it.
He didn't send a representative of his government. He's got dozens and dozens of ministers.
We asked John Healey, who unfortunately was away. He was away in Norway. But we had a couple of MPs who have supported us for a long time. Emma Lewell and Rebecca Long-Bailey came.
Oh, good.
And they've been supporters of us for a long time.
Emma Long-Bailey's been on this programme and talked to us about it.
And unfortunately, there was nobody from the cabinet. Absolutely nobody would attend. And that's the attitude that we are up against. And I actually met Keir on Monday at a remembrance event at number 10 Downing Street and said, we need this meeting. And he's like, yes, it's in process, the meeting is in process.
But not happening
But that's
yet.
it, that's as far as it goes.
Terry, how does it make you feel? You've been through this, you've had a lifetime of health problems, you've told us how it's impacted, you're not going to get grandchildren because of what's happened to your son.
Yeah.
That successive governments have just pushed you away.
I think it's very disappointing. You put your trust in these people and they promise all sorts of things, but it never actually happens. The least they could do is apologise. Apologise to the veterans, apologise to the descendants for all the atrocities that have been happening to them over the years. I'm one of the lucky ones, I'm still here. For how long, I'm not sure, but I'm still here. Whereas other friends I've had have gone, and that's it. They passed even before they got their medal, which is very, very disappointing.
And you lost your father.
Yes, in 1994, so he was only 52. And I lost my brother in 1996, he was only 31 as well. So we've had a family of problems and issues, and our story is just one of thousands and thousands of stories that you will hear every day, and that's why the documentary is so important, because it tells that story.
And Daniel, you're a young man in all of this. Have you been shocked by what you've seen and come across?
Yeah, it's been insane. I mean, we initially started this as a thing just about the veterans, and then meeting Alan, it became this kind of more global view of all these communities affected by nuclear weapons testing, and it just the amount of injustice on a global scale is insane.
And of course, nuclear testing back in the news, Putin talking about particular weapons, Trump joining in and saying the Americans need to start retesting nuclear weapons again. I mean, that must be a huge concern.
It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
And these people who are making these decisions need to watch this documentary, because after watching this documentary, you would not make that decision to resume the testing.
And where will we see the documentary?
So we've got a release schedule coming out on our social media, very early January.
A cinema or on our TV screen or...?
Release schedule coming out.
Tight-lipped.
Now, are these gentlemen both stars of it?
Very much so. Yep, very much so. Alan, very prominently, obviously, of course. We bugged him for the last 3 years, invaded his house about 20-odd times,
And do you think there's ever going to be any compensation for the lab rats?
I'm hopeful with John Healey.
This is the Defence Secretary.
The Defence Secretary. He's been looking at the missing medical records. We're due a review by the end of the year. So we're actually waiting.
How many are there left?
Well, we anticipate, from the veteran side, between 1,000 and 1,500 worldwide left for the British nuclear test veterans.
Out of 20,000.
Yeah.
Out of how many?
22,000.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
And the ones that are left are suffering, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have skin cancers and other issues and stuff, so they're not a healthy 80-year-old. And the average age now is 86.
Wow.
Gosh.
Well, Alan Owen...
87 this year.
Can I just say, you look
very good on it.
You really do. You look fabulous.
Well, I had a DNA done in America recently, and there's several mutations have appeared through radiation.
Yeah.
Gosh. And just remind us the name of the documentary.
Our Planet, the People, My Blood.
Very good.
Well, Alan, Terry, Daniel, thank you so much for coming in, and we will watch the release with interest next year.
And when we get the date, we're going to tell everybody, come back and tell us when it all comes on. The MOD said it's commissioned comprehensive work to examine the questions over medical records. So Keir Starmer's promised to meet veterans of Britain's Cold War nuclear weapons testing programme, he says.
Hopefully by the end of the year.
Stick to your word for a change, Prime Minister. It would do you look good in the polls, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'd be a very, very useful meeting for him. Well, still ahead, we'll have the latest on the driver who shouted Allahu Akbar as he ploughed into crowds on a French holiday island. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy downpours likely over the northeast of Spain and southern France over the course of Thursday. Some showery rain also for the Greek islands, particularly Corfu. Much of Italy looking fine with some autumn sunshine in Rome. There's that heavy rain just clearing away from Barcelona, but bringing some downpours to the south of France. Showery rain also clearing away from the Balearics. Much of southern Spain dry and sunny. Small chance of a shower or two over the Canaries. They should be clearing away as we head into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back, and it is Wednesday, so we'll be crossing live to Westminster at 4 p.m. Q's Live with Gloria De Piero and Tom Harwood.
And here they are. Well, you two, how exciting. David Lammy
I
to
know,
be
it's
in
going
the
to
hot
be an
seat.
absolute hoot. This is the first time we'll have seen the freshly minted Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy taking questions from all across the House. But of course, those top 6 questions from the Conservative side, they'll be coming from the Shadow Defence Secretary, James Cartledge.
But remember, this show, it's all about you, whether you're listening, whether you're watching. Those are the questions we want, your questions, because those are the questions that we put to our panel of politicians, Tory MP and a Labour MP today.
Yeah, we're joined in the studio here in Westminster by the Labour MP for Hales Owen, Alex Ballinger, and the Shadow Science Secretary, Julia Lopez. So do get those questions coming in, gbnews.com/yoursay.
Tom and Gloria, look forward to it.
We'll be glued to it. Nice to see you guys. Now, construction is starting today on Britain's biggest Christian monument.
The Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer near Birmingham will tower 51 metres. That's more than twice the size of the Angel of the North. And for Andrew, that's over 160 feet.
So joining us now is our GB News reporter, who is Anna Riley, who is live in Coleshill in the Midlands. Anna, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Well, we've just had a groundbreaking ceremony here. The dirt has been lifted as to where this monument is going to be. It's almost like an infinity loop, 51 metres tall, twice the size of the Angel of the North. And just behind us here, this is what it's going to look like. People can scan these bricks with their smartphone and find an answered prayer. I'm delighted to be joined by Lord Edmondson. He has been a donor for this. Your company has been a donor. Over £30 million to get this project going.
Well, we've spent about £6 million, I think, so far. We donated the land we're on here and put the roadway in. And yes, we'll be donating
actually more than 30, it's about 35 by the time we add that up. And my son also has a charity which comes from my company also, so our company probably will end up donating about 36, 37 million. But we're going to stop there because we don't want it to be our project. We want it to be the project for the church in the nation. I don't want my name on it in any way. Nothing I've ever done has my name on it. Not my company, not my charity, and I want it that way. I want it to be owned by the church and Christians in this country, and perhaps other countries too will contribute their prayers to encourage people that God does still answer prayer.
Yeah, what do you hope that this inspires?
Well, you know, there's lots of problems in this world at the moment, like a lot of youth suicide and things like that. We want people to understand that there is an alternative. You can pray and ask God for help. Jesus said, you know, cast your care upon me because I care for you. And people need hope. The problem is, you know, if your life seems really miserable and you can't see any way out, suicide seems very logical, doesn't it? But we want to say to people, don't do that. God has a plan and purpose for you. Start talking to God, and He will help you and direct your life because He has a good plan for you.
Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us. This project's due to be complete by 2028, and that work has begun today.
Anna Riley, thank you so much, and we will be following the progress with interest.
Fantastic they're having this great big Christian monument, I think. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the design, to be honest.
Did you not enter the competition?
No. That's it from Britain's Newsroom. We're going to the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. More wet weather to come, particularly across Scotland and Northern Ireland today. England and Wales staying fairly cloudy and very mild, and quite a gusty wind blowing, quite noticeable if you're out this evening for a firework display. This morning it's pretty wet across Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy bursts of rain here. Not completely dry for Wales and England, particularly in western areas, some showery rain, but that should be easing off generally. And then much of the Midlands and eastern England will stay dry, predominantly cloudy, but still quite bright, some hazy sunshine, lifting those temperatures well above average for the time of year, 16, 17 degrees. But there is quite a noticeable gusty wind. Quite mild even where the rain persists across Scotland and Northern Ireland well into this evening. As I say, if you are heading out to a firework display, that gusty wind might be quite noticeable, but you're not going to need to really layer up because it will be pretty mild. Apart from the odd shower, most of England and Wales dry. Still quite wet though across Cumbria perhaps, and outbreaks of rain lingering into this evening across Northern Ireland and especially across Scotland.